Saints of God, welcome back to another installment of Position Transition Ministries or Position Transition Corporation. I've enjoyed this series that we've been doing called Judgment versus Monarchy. We've learned a lot of things, haven't we? We started out talking about equality, how there is no equality under monarchy, but equality under judgment, and how under judgment, bringing things equal and making things equal will build spiritual neighborhoods where we take care of each other. It's going to cost us, but it's only going to cost us according to how we love each other. God so loved the world that he gave his son. What are you willing to give up for your brothers and sisters? And that's the issue. Under monarchy, it doesn't matter. Monarchy likes inequality. Monarchy likes there being a greater and a lesser. And monarchy likes it when one can have more and one can have less and one can rule and judge over another. They love that. That's how power, they go through power struggles to make sure that happens. But we found out that all we have to do is love each other the way God said love each other, and we can be back under the judgment or the righteousness of God. And then last week, we looked at our direction, how God gives direction, how God speaks and gives us direction and tell us what to do. We realized under monarchy, they give some direction, but there's always this underlying current or this undercurrent of things you don't know. They don't tell everything. They can't really afford to. They can't give you all information. It diminishes and it weakens their power. Whereas under righteousness, God does not want us in a place where we don't know. He wants us to know about him. He wants us to know about his ways. He wants to direct us so that we can find ourselves in our destinies. Tonight we're going to talk about how God provides. We're going to talk about provision and how provision works differently under God's righteousness as opposed to how it works under monarchy. We understand that under monarchy, and whether we want to grasp it or not, monarchy has a cap. Monarchy does not work according to your abilities. They work according to what you can provide for them. Monarchy, this is why they have systems of taxation. It's all designed not so much to provide for you, but to provide for the ruling power. We understand that. We pay our taxes and we should pay our taxes. But what do we really get by following these systems? We realize they're not designed to favor us. We saw last week, we go through that and we can get direction. But after even following the directions and the precepts that they set up, many times we still find ourselves without the resources we need. How is that happening? But what happens under judgment? How does God provide? And God always provides. We know that. The thing is, God uses something called good works. There's a difference between works and good works. And this is how good works are good works, because they are effective works. They are works that provide for everyone. God is not a selfish God, and he does not function in selfishness. He provides for what he needs to provide for the whole. God blesses us so that we can be a blessing. God uses us as outlets to be a blessing for other people. That's how he provides. And when we hold back the blessings that God has given us to use elsewhere, then we block how God provides. Many of our blessings have been cut off. Many of our blessings have been held up. Not because God didn't give. Not because God didn't provide, but because we mishandled the provisions God gave us. God gives us abilities. God gives us gifts. God gives us talents. And all of these things are used to provide. Many times there's just so much when it comes to how God provides. Many times we don't even get to avail ourselves to the provisions of God because we won't follow the principles of God. We want the promises, but we don't want to adhere to the principle. The principle deals with the good works. The principles, dealing with the principles, will bring forth the fruit. The fruit is the promise. We want God to provide for us. When we think about giving us provision, we think about something pretty much already manufactured, already done, and it's just handed to us and we enjoy it. Or it's handed to us and we work with it. That's not what God does. God gives us gifts. He gives us talents. But in his infinite wisdom, God also gives us what it takes to be able to maintain what he gives us. Monarchy doesn't do that. Monarchy doesn't do that. Monarchy doesn't do that. Monarchy does not function in such a way that they give to us and then we're able to sustain and maintain. There are rules, there are regulations, there are laws that tell us what we can and cannot have, what we can and cannot do, what we can and cannot say. And then they provide and they tell us how these are our rights. In other words, have you ever thought about how our rights are always limited, how our rights are always regulated, how our rights are always under scrutiny? Have you ever thought about that? Do you ever look and you see how they provide us with what they call inalienable rights and how they provide us with what we call justice for all? I think we've talked about this before, and yet there are limits to it. It's not like that under God's judgment. God wants to see us prosper. He said it himself. He wants to see us have. He said he would give to us pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And he said he would do it in such a way that other people would give to us that we could have. God provides in so many ways. There's just not enough time to talk about all the ways God provides. But one of the things God provides us with a way to know how to do. God doesn't just give. He shows us how to get what we need. He gives us the strength. He gives us the wisdom. He gives us strategy. The question is, do we follow God's plan to get what we need? Or are we trying to tell God how to do it? Are we trying to conform God's principles to meet the way that we want it done? How much time have we wasted trying to get provision from God without following the principles of God? We keep telling him what his promises to us are. He knows what he promised us. But don't forget, it wasn't one-sided. We made some promises as well. What principles of God are you following to get what you need? Are you rejoicing and being exceedingly glad? Because he provided us a great reward in heaven. Are you loving those that hate you? Are you blessing those that curse you? Are you praying for those that despitefully use you? Are you doing that? Are you proud to be a servant to other people? Or do you see it as slavery? God provides in so many ways. And we lose out so much because we don't understand how kingdom provides. God's ways are not our ways. And many of the things that God wants to do for us, we're missing it because of the fact we miss his principle. Principle is the key thing. Principle is where the power is. We want to skip principle and go right to promise, and that doesn't happen. God provides in the spirit realm before it ever manifests itself in the natural realm. That's part of the issue with us. We want instant gratification. We want God to do it right now. We don't have enough patience to wait on the Lord. And then when he says move, we don't like the way he said move, so we don't get the promise anyway. It's not God's slack, it's us slack. What are we going to do about that? There are so many things right now, even as I'm talking to you, that God wants to provide for us. But we have to do it his way. God breaks us to provide for us. I know you don't see that as a way of provision, but it is. God chastises us so that he can provide for us. God punishes us so he can provide for us. He does not want what he provides for us to be a burden to us. So he will do what is necessary to us as a person to make sure and to ensure that when the blessing comes, when the promise comes, we're able to handle it and maintain it. This is another way how he provides. We just want him to give us stuff and then get out of the way. That's not what God does. Oh, my brothers and my sisters. God wants to provide for us. He has principles. How much of the principle are you adhering to? Think about that as you go through this week. As I end, let me wish you a Merry Christmas. Remember, this is Christ's birthday. And everything that he has provided for you and your family on this day, you must be grateful for. After all, it's his birthday. What is your gift to him? God bless you, and I'll see you next week.